everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have my February wrap-up. So this wrap-up is nowhere near as much or as good as last month. And I say that knowing that I DNF'd like 6 things in January. The reading has just been really hit or miss this month. I did start getting into some video games, like I played a couple really big games in February, and so that's been more of my focus. Not necessarily in a bad way, things that I've absolutely been loving, but reading did go to the wayside a little bit, and it's not quite where I would normally want to be. I'm not upset with it, but yeah. So I read 7 books in February, which again, I feel like this could have been better, especially because 2 of them were DNFs. I will also mention that I'm in the middle of a book. This huge chunker here, like in the middle of it. I was intending to finish this by the end of February. Because I was playing video games, it did not happen. And I think because of the way that the story is written and how slow some of the parts are, not in a bad way, but just not 100% keeping my attention from interesting thing to interesting thing, I'm gonna try the audiobook of this. The only problem with that is my hold for the audiobook at the library is like 12 weeks. So this is gonna be put on hold. I'm not DNFing it. I do actually want to finish it. It's just not holding my attention right now. So that's not part of the DNFs. We have 7 books, including 2 other DNFs that we're going to talk about. So the total amount of pages that I read, minus the 360 something that I read in Swordcatcher, I read 1,682 pages. My goal is normally around 2,000 pages, and obviously I did not hit that. Even if we added in what I read for Swordcatcher, I would have barely made 2,000. Again, the reading was just not as much as I would have liked. So yeah, going into how many hours I listened in February, everything has been down, right? The number of books I read from January to February is down. The number of pages I read from January to February is down. The number of hours I listened to from January to February is down. I'm at 5.5. I think I listened to 1 audiobook in February, but ultimately that's actually not too bad. I've had months with lower amounts of hours read, so that's not something that I'm upset about. I think that's still pretty darn good. Let's move into my reading method for the books that I did read. 5 of them were physical, 1 was an audiobook, and 1 was an ebook. For the genre, 4 were romance and 3 were fantasy. Part of the reason I didn't read as much could be that I didn't have as much variety. I am somebody who is very sort of eclectic with my tastes for video games, movies, books, TV shows, all that kind of stuff. Like, I like a lot of everything, pretty much. And so I was really only doing romance and fantasy, and maybe that didn't work out for me. For the book format, 5 of them were novels. 1 was a manga and 1 was a graphic novel or comic. For indie or traditional, 5 of them were traditionally published, whereas 2 of them were indie published. How I got them, 4 of them were on my owned TBR. 2 of them were also on the owned TBR, but they were previously gifted to me from somebody else. And then 1 was an ARC. So overall, those are pretty good stats. I like that. For the age category, 5 were adult, 1 was young adult, and 1 was middle grade. For the publication year, because this is something that we're tracking nowadays, not too in detail, but like 1 was from this year in 2025, that would have been the ARC, obviously. 2 were from 2024, which is great, and then 4 were backlist. I'm only tracking 2025, 2024, and then 2023 just to see if a couple years makes a difference. And then everything else is backlist or classics, but I don't read very many of those. So this is a pretty good ratio of the things that I have read. And then the last thing we need to talk about is star rating. So like I said, I did have 2 DNFs, which is gonna show up as a 1 star on my spreadsheets. I had 1 3-star, 3 3.5 stars, and only 1 5-star read. So my average rating for this month is a 2.9. My average rating for last month, because I had so many DNFs, I want to say is about the same. So my whole overall score right now for 2 months of the year is 2.87. Not that great, and it's because I've been having a lot of DNFs. I think last year I had 10 total DNFs. I'm at 8 total DNFs. within 2 months. I do think part of this is just that I know my tastes, and if I'm not enjoying it, I'm cutting my losses much earlier, which is actually probably good for me. I'd rather get rid of those books quicker than just read through it and have it be mediocre. But yeah, my average rating is suffering just a little bit. So, like I said, those are gonna be it for stats. Let's start with the books that I DNF'd and then go to my favorite book of the month. So the first book that I DNF'd is Trapped in Wonderland by Danny Hoots. This is a YA Alice in Wonderland type of retelling. It is an indie book. I bought this because it's an author that was from Arizona, and I just don't think I can get through this. The writing style was really just not for me, and it's one of those ones that, like, I think I'm gonna have to read some of it for you to, like, really show you what I mean. Okay, I'm just gonna read a little paragraph. This is like the second page of the book, and this is the character like introducing themselves as we're here with them. Oh, I should probably introduce myself. I'm Alice Hughes, or at least that was the name I went by. My real name was Meredith, but I always went by my middle name. Can you blame me? Regardless, I'm a freshman at East Salem High School. Go hunting owls. At first, I thought an owl was stupid for a mascot, but an owl actually attacked a bunch of people in the park in downtown Salem, Oregon. I now appreciated and feared owls. I don't know if this character is supposed to be ADHD, but I do feel like the train of thought here, not so great. And there was quite a bit of that kind of stuff that I just like could not do. And I got like almost 50 pages in here. It's just, the writing style is not gonna work for me. And so I did decide to DNF this one. My next DNF is one that I dilly-dallied on for a while, and it's Makeup Breakup by Lily Manon. This is one that I really thought I was gonna go back to and try again, but when I really looked at it, because I did sort of look at it again, I got over 50 pages into this one, and it was just very bland. I wasn't relating to any of the characters. The author describes the characters' outfits like 5 times in those 50 pages, and I just don't like that sort of, here, let me tell you what their hair looks like and what their outfit looks like every single time you see them. I don't need that. The premise of this one sounded okay, but it is very much more of like an enemies to lovers versus like a rivals to lovers. Like, I don't necessarily like when there is a reason that they should be hating each other, and yeah, there may be a miscommunication here, but these are about rival app developers. She has Makeup, which is supposed to be like you turn your app on and it listens to your conversations with your partner, and it's almost like a dating counseling sort of thing on the app. And then he makes a version that's similar, but it's like a breakup app where you tell them why you want to break up and it like sends a breakup text or email to your person. And apparently they knew each other previously, met doing something, and like she told him about her app and he stole the ideas and like the titles and all the stuff from her. And so she has, in my opinion, a legitimate reason to hate this guy, but because I don't really care about anything else going on, I don't care about seeing the relationship happen. This is probably also why I don't usually like second chance romances, because if you have a reason why you broke up with them, there's probably a good reason for why that happened. So this is one of those ones that I probably could have tried again, but I just really did not find myself reaching for it at all, and so I'm gonna cut my losses. Moving on to my 3-star read, it's Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. This is one that I was sort of sad that it was a 3-star. I was really looking forward to this one. I did listen to it on audio while I was out and about because it is a middle grade adventure, and I was just like really hoping for something good. I will say I did really like the audiobook narrator. We do have some characters that are in here from, you know, folklore from Black Americans and that kind of stuff. They even bring in some African folklore as well. And I really did like the character of like Gum Baby and like learning that kind of stuff. However, there are other characters in here from folklore from like back in the early American times when Black people were slaves and they were telling these kind of stories, and I wished we got more of the actual information about them. And I think it's partly because I was sort of comparing this to like Percy Jackson, that kind of stuff, where we do have like the Greek gods and that kind of thing. And like, while I do feel like, at least back when I was in school, a lot of kids learn about Greek mythology and Roman mythology and things like that in school, I remember learning a little bit about some of these characters as well. Like, we learned a little bit about like John Henry and things like that, but I feel like Percy Jackson was able to reiterate some of those stories, and this one felt like they were just characters in this world. And so instead of re-getting their stories, re-getting why they're important to these people here, especially with the fact that Tristan is supposed to be having this sort of magical storybook and a magical story power, like I thought that was so interesting. I didn't understand why these characters mattered to this story. Like, I just wish we would have gotten that reiteration of it. Also, this book is very, very long, so there was a lot of stuff in the middle that was part of the journey to get to where he needed to go, but it was like, oh, let's go over here, and then, oh, nope, that was a red herring, so now we need to go over there. Nope, that was wrong, let's go over here. And so the journey also just felt very meandering, and so while I was hoping for more from this, I found my attention lagging. Like, it was just, I really liked the idea of the story powers and that kind of stuff, but I wanted more from the actual mythology of it. Okay, moving into my 3.5-star reads. The first one I have here is Adventure Van by Michael Macmillan. And this is a 3.5-star mostly because I thought it was a good start to a series, and this is the only volume. And it is indie published. It's been out since like 2018, 2019, something like that. And we've never gotten more. And so this ends where we need more. And I don't think we're ever gonna get it. So like, while I was intrigued, I can't give it a higher rating because there's nothing to give us a good conclusion to the story. I want to see more, but I don't know if we're gonna get it. So basically though, this is about a guy who has been told these stories his whole life from his uncle who he lives with. That's his guardian. His uncle wrote these stories into books that are like fantasies and, you know, bestsellers and all this kind of stuff. And then he finds out that it's actually real. So this is sort of like a portal fantasy where he ends up figuring out that he is the prince that had to be spirited away because of this war. So it's almost like a Superman-esque, even though he doesn't really have powers. And so again, I thought it was a very intriguing concept of having this sort of portal fantasy. The fantasy is actually real and you are the lost prince. But then we never really got more from it. And I don't know if we're going to. So yeah. My next 3.5-star was the arc that I read, which is Love on the Horizon Volume 1 by Machi Yamashita. So this was obviously a manga. It is male-male romance, boys love. I thought it was very cute. Very wholesome. These characters are in college and sort of have been pining after each other a little bit. One character is like more, I don't want to say he's a drunk, but he likes his alcohol sometimes, and so when he's like that, the other character takes him home because they live like right next door or something like that. And so he's been pining after him, and we get to see a little bit of like the current sort of relationship, and then it has a flashback to like their feelings and things like that. I think part of the reason this is a 3.5 is it was just cute. I was really wishing for a little bit more from the actual character development. I do think this is volume 1, so there should be more in this series. I do think I would probably try more to see if that development actually happens. But the good thing is that even though this is a boys love manga, we don't have any of that like non-consent stuff that sometimes happens with these. So very cute, just like I needed a little bit more from it. Then my next 3.5 was The Kiss Countdown by Etta Easton. So I did a vlog on this, so I will leave a link down below in case you are curious. But this is another one where I just needed a little bit more from it. This was billed as a fake dating where our main female character meets the male character and he's an astronaut and like he's gonna go up into space and they need a fake date for a reason. Pretty much she like tells her ex-boyfriend that she has a boyfriend and he's there, and it ends up happening, and then his sister sees that he has a girlfriend who he was supposed to have and he doesn't, so they both need to end up fake dating. My biggest thing with this is that I think this is the author's debut. You can really sort of see that, like it has a really good premise, but the characters were just not as fully developed as I would have liked. The situations felt a little bit fake, and the fake dating doesn't come in right away. It takes like over 40% of this book to really get into that sort of fake dating part. And by then they've sort of just been already dating and living together and things. And I'm just like, that doesn't really fit the trope that I wanted. It doesn't pull my heartstrings in the way that I would have wanted from that. I will say my favorite part of the book was when they got back together after the third act breakup. So I do think this author has a lot of potential, and I'm very curious to see where we're gonna go next. But like him being an astronaut also wasn't really in here very much. Like the things that were being sold to me about this book, those weren't the main focus of the book, and that's what I would have liked. And then the last book that we have to talk about was a 5-star at least, which is great. It's my favorite book of the month. Right now, it's my favorite book of the year, and it's The Prospects by K.T. Hoffman. So this is another male-male romance. I'm so happy I read this one. Like, I absolutely loved it. One of our main characters is trans. He is the first professional trans baseball player. They are in the minors, but he has this rivalry, and it's a good rivalry, with another person from a different team. That person ends up getting transferred to their team and they have to work together. I really, really liked this one. I loved the characters and how real they felt and how much they had wants and things that they loved. Like, this is a sports romance. It does have baseball. It actually has quite a bit about baseball in it. Do I care about baseball? No. But because the characters cared about baseball, I found myself wanting to read more and wanting them to do well. I really liked that aspect. And then, yes, this is a male-male romance, but we have a lot of different representation in here. There's also a lesbian side character. We have other characters who are gay. We have a deaf side character. We have characters with ADHD and anxiety disorders. Like, I really, really liked how much we had in here, how real it felt, and I just fell in love with this. Like, I think I read this in a couple days because it was just so good. I did not want to put it down. So this, so far, is my favorite book of the year, at least. I found that this month, which is great. And so that is going to be it today. I'm really hoping March is going to be better. I have a lot of books I want to read in March, and I don't know if I'll get to all of them, but I'm hoping the quality of the reading, at least, is better than the last couple months, because we're below a 3-star average right now. Yeah, at least, like I said, at least I'm getting rid of and DNFing things if it's not working for me, but I need more 4s and 5s. I really, really do. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye!